Let's move on and look at range, which really is a collection rather than a container. A range is a type of sequence used for representing an arithmetic progression of integers. Ranges are created by calls to the range constructor, and there is no literal form. Most typically, we supply only the stop value. In this case, we create a range from 0 to 5 simply by supplying the stop value of 5. Ranges are sometimes used to create consecutive integers for use as loop counters. Note that the stop value supplied to range is one past the end of the sequence, which is why the previous loop terminated at 4 and didn't print 5. We can also supply a starting value if we wish, such as in this call range 510. Wrapping this in a call to the list constructor is a handy way to force production of each item. The so-called half-open range convention, with the stop value not being included in the sequence, at first seems strange, but actually makes a lot of sense if you're dealing with consecutive ranges, because the end specified by one range is the start of the next range. Range also supports a step argument, which controls the interval between successive numbers. Note that in order to use the step argument, we must supply all three arguments. Range is curious in that it determines what its arguments mean by counting them. Providing only one argument means it is the stop value. Two arguments are start and stop, and three arguments are start, stop, and step. Python's range works this way so the first argument, start, can be made optional, something which isn't normally possible. Furthermore, range doesn't support keyword arguments. You might almost describe it as unPythonic. At this point, we're going to show you another example of poorly styled Python code, one you can and should avoid. Here's a poor way to print the elements in a list using range, len, and list indexing. Although this works, it's most definitely unPythonic. Always prefer to use iteration over objects themselves. If for some reason you need a counter, you should use the built-in enumerate function, which returns an iterable series of pairs, each pair being a tuple. The first element of the pair is the index of the current item, and the second element of the pair is the item itself. We can improve this even further by using tuple unpacking and avoiding having to deal directly with the tuple. Because of the strong iteration primitives built into Python, ranges aren't widely used in modern Python code. Let's move on and look at the next collection type.